So I'll paraphrase, but Art Jarvis at last meeting had indicated that it would be pushing it and rushing it to put it on the March ballot, to put the levy on the March ballot, and yet that's what the board has done. From tonight's few questions that were asked, and the run rate, the ramp rate, how they get the base lower, some simple questions of that nature. Again, the recommendation was get that figured out, have the board understand, what are the facts as far as budget cuts, what are the facts as far as reducing the ramp of growth of the spending to make it sustainable for the Loveland community. The 4.5%, and last week it was 3.5%. Now they can get it down to 3%. It's still, to a certain extent, unsustainable for the community. And then the key part about waiting until November is that the board has continued to leave Grailville on the plate in a sense, and so a key part of that, in a lot of people's opinion, is that this is just step one of a three-part levy. This is the operating levy that they had on the ballot in November. Even though it's going to come into play a year later, it's still the operating levy. So Art has committed that he won't put it on the November ballot, but that doesn't mean it won't show up next May, that you're going to have a levy, a permanent improvement levy, a bond levy, and the same plan, or a similar plan. But in any case, they'll be coming back for more, and Grailville assures us of that, because basically if they continue with Grailville, then they're basically saying we're committed to our plan. And I think for many of the voters that voted no, the 78%, certainly a large percentage of those would vote no if the Grailville is on the property, or that Grailville property is on the ballot. And I'm one of those, as I've talked to the board and sent them messages individually.
It's a hypothetical, but what if next month they void the contract with Grail? Do you think this would pass if that is off the table?
You can't make predictions whether it would pass. I would say there would be more people that would be in favor of the levy, the operating levy, if Grailville was taken off the plate. But in January is too vague, because it doesn't give the people that want to, if Grailville is going to be on the, if they're going to take Grailville off the plate, they need to do it early January. At their January 9th meeting, literally, they would have to take Grailville off the plate. And if they don't, then they're going to have, in my view, and I'm just one person of the 8,800 some people, or 8,000 plus people that voted no. I'm only one. But in my view, then many people are going to vote no, and it takes a while to get organized, get street signs, get everything going. And so that's for us sort of a drop dead point.
It's a very short time before the vote's going to take place.
Yeah,
you know that.
March 17th.
So when you were here at the last meeting,
yes,
and cuts were discussed,
yes,
and I just asked the superintendent and the treasurer to say what those cuts are going to be, and neither one will go on camera. They said they don't have the figures in front of them, on and on. What is it your understanding that they said they were going to cut at the last meeting?
What do I understand they're going to cut? There was a long list of things they were going to cut, and if you recall, the last session of the two working sessions they had with the ad hoc committee, they gave the ad hoc committee a listing of potential cuts. And so they basically have followed that script with a few minor tweaks about, $65,000 for, some additional sports fees, et cetera. But in essence, if you have the list, and I can give you a copy of it from the second ad hoc meeting, they had many of that documented. But I would like to remind you that there's nothing about those cuts that are fixed, right? They didn't say we're going to have a resolution to make these cuts, nothing, right? So all those cuts are theoretical at best, and so they need to make the cuts to make it last, right? So there's no question they'll cut, and they talked about a number around 2.7 million, but the exact cuts don't have to be anything like what they talked about. Literally and figuratively, there's no rule, law, anything that says they have to cut where they said they were going to cut in that meeting, because the meeting, that was all talk, right? What's fixed is the 6.95, which means that if they don't make the cuts, they can't make the 6.95 levy last, which they are committed to do. So they will make cuts. Where those cuts are, I think that's going to be decided. Again, all the better reason to make it in November when they could have it a final plan and actually document it and publicize it and then get the community to support it. And 2 months is not a long time for them to get the support when 78% of the people said no, and a good majority of those have no trust in this administration or board.
Well, I thought we were here at this meeting tonight before they voted on this, what those proposed cuts would be. At least to some degree of estimation of the cost that they were cutting.
They thought they did that last week.
And so I thought they would repeat them back tonight.
Right.
And I think they did it at the last meeting, but like you say, they didn't vote on it.
No.
They didn't agree to it. It was a discussion about what could be cut.
That's correct.
And I still don't have that tonight.
That's right.
And you don't either.
No,
and you're
nobody
saying
does.
that.
And then the other question that came up, in the voice meeting that we had last Sunday, Loveland Voice, it's a group of people to communicate what we know about the Loveland City School District information. So basically, we didn't understand what is the base that they're taking it from. It seems like the base they're taking it from is the 1920 school year and the fiscal plans for 2021. So is it a cut against the 2021 plan or the 1920 plan, right?
The
And so that sets
2019 plan or the
it goes first year, second year, right? So right now we're in the 1920 plan, right, school year.
Okay.
And
Yes.
that's where the baseline cuts are from? But then I heard Kevin say that they're not making any cuts this year, okay? So my natural question as a voter, right, in the school district, why wouldn't you start making those cuts now to reduce the rate, right? There's no reason why January 1st they couldn't be making some cuts. Certainly there's some cuts they can't do until the first of the school year, maybe, right? But there's no reason, if they could make the cuts, they should start making them now, right? No reason at all. Why wait 9 months, right? You can have a baby in 9 months. Why wouldn't you start implementing cuts now, right? If you want to be fiscal responsible and show the goodwill, develop the trust, start making the cuts.
So-
Documenting it, start making the cuts.
Tell me if I heard this different than you did, but as of tonight, we know that it's a 6.95 mil levy on the March 17th,
17th. March
17th
17th
ballot.
ballot. That's correct.
but we have nothing else that the board has voted on, and we have some idea of what cuts may be made, but we don't know when they're going to start, and we don't actually know what they are yet.
Well,
do
from
we?
Kevin tonight, they're going to start in the 2021 school year, which starts July 1st, 2020.
Okay.
Is when he said the cuts would start, okay? My question is, why wouldn't they start January 1, right? Or even December 17th, right?
But-
Because there's no reason to wait on cuts. Because the more they cut, the more it's going to be extended, right? So if they start making cuts in these 6 months, that just means that it's going to last 6 months longer on the far side, right? From my calculations.
You're going home tonight with no more information except that you know it's going to be on the ballot
That's right.
from what you had last week.
Right.
And you're going home with an awful lot of questions,
Right.
right? Same place we were last August.
Well, not exactly.
Well, with
On the operating levy side, certainly, there's a lot of
terms of
unanswered questions. But what we do
unanswered
know
questions.
tonight is that 78% of the voters in the Loveland City School District didn't agree to a 16.42 levy, right? And with Railville on the board's plate yet, okay, there's nothing that would tell the voter that they're not thinking that they want to do that same plan. Nothing.
They're asking for more operating funds now than they were in
No, it's the same,
November.
6.95.
6.9.
Well, it's a 6.95, but actually,
Okay.
if you consider it, Kevin Hawley will tell you, it's actually less. In a sense that they've now put it off for a year, they've lost 6.17
Okay.
whatever millions of dollars, right? So they've lost over $6 million. That doesn't help offset and build the cushion it's a stair step, as Kevin likes to say, right? You have the ballot, you go up, you collect more money, there's a break-even point, and then you take from that surplus, and that's how they extend it. That's just how these permanent levies work, right? So if you wait a year, the spending hasn't decreased, right? And so it becomes more urgent, so that's why they had to make the cuts, is so that even to get it back to a 6.95, which was the key part that they tried to do, that Art Jarvis mentally made that decision to get it back to that 6.95 because he didn't want the talking point out there that they raised the rate from what it was in November of 19. So he's absolutely right. It's still the same rate. And in fact, as Kevin would tell you, it's a year later, so it's $6 million that they haven't collected.
You're part of what group?
I'm just a member, of Loveland Voice. Okay, we meet
And
on Sundays.
That's a new group, or?
Yes, it's a reformatting of the Loveland No, but Loveland No, it's not a no. It's basically the voice of the community. We're getting information out as we learn it.
And will that be the PAC that's going to say
First of all, I don't know how.
support the levy or oppose the levy? Or?
That is one PAC that will say and make a decision as a group whether we're going to support the levy or not to support the levy. But as I'm standing here today, I think it's a question of do we abstain and sit out of the election or fight it? It's not a matter of supporting it because I don't think there's any consensus to support it.
Okay. Thanks, Dale.
All right, good.
Now we're cooking with gas.